Welcome to Perspective Voices. I'm Dr. Michelle Lambert Watkins, back for another episode.
And I'm Tanya Lambert Watkins, Esquire, joining again for another episode. And today we're discussing family matters. And we have with us Antoinette Bailey and
Angela James.
Yes,
Angela
thank you,
James.
Antoinette.
Not Pammy, Angela James.
Cousin Pammy.
cousin Pammy.
So we came on today to discuss family matters. And for us, this is a family tree. We are all cousins. And we're going to be talking about our family lines and hope that you'll join in with the conversation. We're going to be talking about hurts, heart, love, laughter, secrets, everything that pertains to life. And we're going to let our eldest, cousin Pammy, begin the conversation by giving a little background on our family history.
Hi, guys. As the eldest cousin of this family,
Yes,
the
that's right.
matriarch.
Or it is
He's the
factual.
matriarch.
Such
Yes.
a big word. So the family started, well, I can't say started, but when I joined the family as a baby at Nugent Lane. So there was when I was old enough to realize where I was, there was Grandpa, Ernest Watkins, Ernest Lambert Watkins, and there was Grandma, Lucille, his wife, and there were the uncles. Now, my part in this family was my mom, Doreen, who had left when I was 1 year, 9 months to go to England. So I never got the opportunity to meet her until much later when I was 16. So I'm just going to talk about the first 16 years of my life growing up with these uncles of mine. And of course, as they got married, I remember later on in life asking Uncle Frank if there was something where each and every one of them told their wives or asked their wives that I had to be a part of the family, because I must say and admit that every single one of my aunts treated me as their eldest child. And even though they're no longer with us, I will never forget the love that I felt from every single one of them in their own way. Of course, I'm a crybaby, so I'm gonna cry. Living in Nugent Lane was something to behold. It had its rules, its regulations, but we lived as a family. So growing up in Nugent Lane before the others joined us, because I had 5 years of my uncles and the grandparents, and it was the grandfather with the uncles. So technically I had 6 fathers. And, they each were unique in their way. Everybody says Uncle Tony was my favorite, but then there was the loving Uncle Frank. But the one who shaped me the most, in my opinion, was Uncle Bertie. But unfortunately, he left when I was 9 to further his education. So we went to the United States. If he had not left, who knows? I probably would be a better person today, but he had his life, he wanted to go to the US. As a matter of fact, he earned the right to go to the US because he had a track scholarship to Grambling University. So I was left with Uncle Noel, who, to be truthful, was just there, as an uncle. You had Uncle Frank, the most loving, kindest person you want to meet on this earth. You had Uncle Bonnie, the comedian of the family.
The party man.
The party man, name it, he was it. The one who broke every single rule that was laid down in that house, every single one. you know,
The rebellious one.
the rebellious one. But he was the fun one, you know, he was a fun uncle, the one who, when the grandparents went to the country property, every Friday night there was a dance in the house. Of course, I kept it secret, but that nosy neighbor next door, as soon as they pulled up, she had to tell them, Mr. and Mrs. Watkins, I couldn't sleep a wink last night. You know? And then I remember he had his own sound system because he was so into his music. So he, what those trees called? Mahogany, the mahogany trees had to be chopped down so he could build his speakers, and he played out. But he had this rule that he's playing at your dance and he has to be paid by midnight, whether or not you who are keeping the party had any money. If not, he would pack up his system and leave. Well, I assume, because I wasn't allowed to go to his parties, I was way too young. So there was one particular case that I remember that he packed up his system and the crowd came after midnight. So the man lost money, and whoa, he had the audacity to come to our house in Kingston Garden to get I don't know what he was going to do with Uncle Bonnie. Well, you just don't do that in the Lambert Watkins family. No matter what we do, you, the stranger, you don't just show up on us because you could lose your life. So he shows up with his, is the word sacrilegious? Because you're talking about a Sunday. You're not allowed to wash and hang out clothes on a Sunday in the house. There's just certain things you couldn't do. So how can you come into our house talking loud? Well, who crept up behind him? Uncle Frank. It's all over. Uncle Tony, who traveled with a cutlass in his car. Thank God for the neighbor to save that man. If not, I don't know how this story would end. But that was just one little episode caused by Uncle Bonnie again. There's so many things that he did, but he was just so different. I remember one morning, I don't know what he's doing, probably riding his motorbike because he had a Honda motorcycle. And he probably was riding it without a license. Who knows? I don't remember the detail. But anyway, he got pulled over by the cops. And I remember getting ready for school and Grandpa having me on the veranda lecturing to me not to grow up to be like your brother Bonnie. And I'm like, I have other choices, but that was that. And then we had Uncle Tony, the quiet one, who he was just always there, especially for me. He should have gone to college, but he went to work instead. And from the way I saw it, he just thought he had to take care of me. He had to pay my school fee. He had to do everything. But he's the one that couldn't dance. We had this mirror in the living room, and you would see me there doing this thing, But there is a cousin, two cousins that's older than me. They are Blossom and Carl. And man, Blossom and I, we were tied like thieves. And everything they did, we would just imitate them, because that was the entertainment of the day. You have to remember, yes, we had a telephone in the house, but it was a party line. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have all the electronics these kids have today. So we had to create our own games the best way we could. And having these 5 uncles was entertainment enough. So what else y'all want to hear?
Tell us the beginnings with our grandparents and our, grandpa and grandma.
Well,
and the connection line, the family tree.
Okay.
Go down that.
Our grandfather was not a talker, very quiet man. If he's had something to say, you're in trouble. But grandma, she was the entertainer. I guess that's where everybody got it from. She was the socialist, you know, she was into politics, she was into everything. So you would get more out of her. The one thing I'm sorry at that age that I didn't pay closer attention to things that she was saying. So I remember her telling me that grandpa, of course, is older than her, but she knew him from she was a little girl. So with a 10-year spread, if he's 20 and working, she was only 10. Now, the little village that she came from, their entertainment was that train that went from Port Antonio to Kingston that our grandfather worked on. He had this big title, roundhouse foreman of the railway. So of course we got to ride the train for free, you know. So he was on the Port Antonio to Kingston line. So it left Port Antonio in the morning. I don't know what time it left because I know it got to Richmond where we had property, say around 8:30, 9 o'clock. You didn't get to Kingston until 12 o'clock. So, you know, it was a long ride. And then it would leave Kingston, the turnaround time, it would leave Kingston about 2 o'clock. You would get to Richmond just before dark, like 7 o'clock at night. And then it would continue on to Port Antonio. So our grandmother's from this little village or little town, whatever you want to call it, called Haywood in St. Catherine. So their entertainment was the train. So they knew what time the train was coming. They'd run. They didn't even have a train station. They had a little hut. You know, there's nowhere to buy a ticket or anything. You just got on the train and paid your way to wherever you're going. So I guess for her and her friends, and of course, to back up, her parents, no, her father's side of the family came from Scotland. So they were the big to-do of the district. They owned shops because she would tell me that as a little girl, she always wanted to help the less fortunate. And she didn't realize that it was stealing, but she would take things out of her father's shop and give to the poor. Because that's what the Bible says you do. She says, I didn't realize that's stealing, but hey, that's what I did. So she'd run down to the train to see. And this man would always tug at our ponytails and even had the audacity to tell her that he was going to marry her when she gets older. But at the time she was like, no way. First of all, she'd been with her half-caste self, you know, because she was very light-skinned, half white. She's like, no, I'm going to marry a black man because that's just what you did back then, right? Well, fast forward, guess who she married? That man, you know? So she's known this man nearly half her life. Of course, on the grandfather side of things, don't know much. I remember he talking about his sister Eva and his mother. Mama did tell me a story that the property in Richmond, St. Mary, was left from his grandfather, who I'm going to assume back then, because I don't have details, that as part of probably his freedom from slavery, that he was given this land. Now, as a child growing up, we thought it was acres and acres. I think Uncle Frank told me it was only 12 acres. But in my eyes, it was humongous. There was a house on top of the hill. It was the most gorgeous property ever. You know, every summer that I got the chance to go there, I could go roaming. Back in those days. You didn't have to worry about being raped, being molested. It was such a different time back then. You know, the fruit trees, I could just walk, pick the guava. Back in those days, you didn't even have to wash these fruits. You just rub it on your clothes and eat it. You know, I guess there was, I don't know, no germs back then. You know, it was so different. The only place I wouldn't venture, if a cow was in there, I'm not going. Because we had cows and we had men work in the field and they would come and take the cow, I guess, down to, you had to cross a river. We had a bridge. It was so fabulous. And there was property at the front of the property down by the street. There was a bar, there was stores. It was so, I thought we were rich, child, let me tell you. Didn't want for nothing. I remember talking to Wayne about a little bit about my growing up. And he said to me, you were the Kardashian of the time. And I said, I guess I was.
And saying it right of the time. Back then, 12 acres is a lot.
Because here am I, this little
Yeah.
girl who was just giving everything, and I look back now and I go, oh my God, I had it so good, of course, I blew it, but hey, what can I say? Didn't realize how good I had it, thought it would last forever. Okay. I grew up, unfortunately. So as I was saying, so there's this land that we have, about 12 acres of it. Life was good back then. I didn't hear the word mortgage until I was a grown woman, because the house in Kingston was free and clear. I don't know what a mortgage is. I didn't even know what bills was. Yes, we had a telephone bill, a light bill, but that was it. We went to the market, but for very few things, because everything came from the land. The yam, the banana. I remember Aunt Peggy telling me one time, I'm so sick of bananas because I've ate so much bananas living in Kingston, we just had it all. Every once in a while, Uncle Frank was a planner. We would have road trips and we would leave Kingston early Sunday morning, like 6 o'clock, and carloads of us, and we would drive to Richmond, and the maids, don't forget it, we had maids. We had housekeepers.
Her own maid.
Many maids.
Her own maid.
At age 4
Many
child,
maids,
I started a school. First, the school was on the same street, just 2 doors down. Then they moved 2 streets over. I wasn't allowed to cross the street. So when I was born, there was Alicita, who was hired to take care of me. And when my uncles didn't want to be home with me on Friday nights, especially, she was allowed to take me to her house. So, I talk about it now and you almost say, who does she think she's or what? It just what it was. That was just the times back then,
Right.
and I mean, we were rich in love and everything, maybe not so much in money, but we never wanted for anything. As a matter of fact, people came to us for stuff.
But that's true wealth.
Yeah, say that again, Antoinette. Say it louder.
Yeah.
That's true wealth, not wanting for anything.
Absolutely.
But at my age, what do I know? I just thought they were beggars, not realizing that one day I would have, what I've seen my grandmother do would be the one now that realized that it's not about acquiring money and bank accounts with zeros. It's about what can I do for my fellow man, especially when it comes to your blood family. How can I help you? I can't build you a house. I don't have that. But you're not going to go hungry, and if you need some place to live, you may not get a bed for yourself, but you're damn sure going to get a sleeping mat or something.
Catch your corner.
Catch your corner.
Right. Right.
I have a coworker who just don't understand it. And I don't hold it against her. She don't know it. So how you going to understand me and my family when you've never been through it? You have to live it. You have to know it. That's what we do. That's our motto. Each one helps.
Yes. And hopefully the family understanding that we're always a shoulder to cry on for each other.
Always.
No judgment.
Always.
Whatever
now,
no judgment. We're here.
You'll have your little clique, because I laugh now because me, Michelle, Donna, I'm going to use those 2, are first generation, but they're closer to Antoinette than me. I'm not upset. They click. Michelle and Antoinette, Donna and Antoinette talks more. When Donna comes to visit, of course, I don't let her leave until she answers every single question about New York. So
Right.
that's just the way it is. I love it. I love it. I love it. I know that most of us, except for the ones that were born in Jamaica, don't know. Now we're down to what? 3 cousins left in Jamaica. And
Just 3 cousins?
yeah, because we lost Dawn last year.
Mhm.
Noel had 4 kids, right? So we lost Dawn.
Three
The
in the
3
older generation.
Now I'm talking about my generation.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just talking my generation. So we still have Dimples, Michael Paul, and Radcliffe. I ain't going into all the others, their children and grandchildren. And I have made it my mission to stay close with them, because even though Uncle Noel didn't do right by them, he's dead and gone, so we just have to live with it. I will never forget Aunt Hazel. Aunt Hazel was a very industrious woman. If she had come to America, I believe she would be a millionaire today. The woman can cook, she can bake, she can do hair, she can sew. At one point, she was an upholsterer in Jamaica. Name it, she can do it. But she said no, she will stay with her kids and let Uncle Noel came. Again, unfortunately, he didn't do what he was supposed to do, which is bring your family with you. Whether you want to stay married or not, that's on you. But your children should not have to suffer because of it. So unfortunately, they're stuck in Jamaica. I know the guys, the boys, I think I can call them boys, they're men now. I know they took it.
Boys, grown men.
They're grown men, yeah. I know they took it very hard, or they still take it very hard, because they just seem to be so trapped. And it hurts my heart to see them that way. So whatever I can do, which is not much, to help. Dimples, the eldest cousin from that family, she's been sick for years, and it just breaks my heart when I talk to her, to hear the crying, the pain that she's in. Unfortunately, she's suffering from lupus. As a family, I can share that, no family secrets. And it hurts, it really hurts. It's a very, I can't use big words, but she's in a lot of pain. So I try to stay in touch, encourage her and everything. And like I said, help wherever she can. For years, she worked for the police department. She told me last week that she's been retired now. I forget the number of years. And the system in Jamaica is so slack that up until today, she has yet to get $1 of her pension. Can you imagine that? Thank God she has 2 children, a son, Amar, and a daughter, Latoya. Thank God for her son, Amar, who can take care of his mom, take care of her financial needs in that way. So when I heard, she said, oh my God, Cousin Pammy, my medication bill is so hard. So, every month, like clockwork, it can't pay for all her medication, but it's something that,
Right.
to help her
little
out a little bit.
something
Yeah, just a little something to help.
will help.
At least with the exchange rate, it's a little something.
Right. Going back to the general family line, and then we'll come back to the overall story, but tell us about the connection, like grandma's connection as you know it, like her brothers, her sisters, how we're connected, Blossom, the other 2 cousins you grew up with, as well as grandpa's, as far as you know it.
All right. Like I said before, I don't know much about
Panama
grandpa.
connection.
Yeah. On grandpa's side, I know we have a very strong Panamanian connection. And from what grandma told us is that he had a brother, probably his only brother, don't even know his name, but he went to Panama back in the years when they were building the Panama Canal. And the man or some man that he knew took him to the job site, introduced him, and all of a sudden his last name became Dale. That's what I heard. So now we have all these cousins on the Panamanian side with the name Dale, which in reality is not their name. Now, I don't know if they were originally a Lambert or what. I don't have the details of that. But I remember, again, as a child, when I guess he told his kids about his brother back in Jamaica. He never came back to Jamaica, but he sent I think the eldest one, I don't know if she was the eldest one, but there was a cousin Amy, but because of the age difference, I had to call her Aunt Amy. And they were so fabulous.
And Aunt Rita?
Aunt Rita, Aunt Pearlie, Uncle Arturo. When they came to Jamaica, child, forget about it, you know, because they came to visit their one and only uncle that they heard about. But they were like hot stuff, you know, and Uncle Frank would be like, man, I love when my cousin come. I'd be walking downtown, holding on to their arms and, you know, because they had fire red hair and everything. They were just so fabulous, you know, when they came to visit. So that was a good thing. Pity I don't have any details. Of course, when we came to America, we got to meet more, but again, with the separation, people moving around, you don't stay in touch. There's one cousin that I do stay in touch with, Arturo's daughter, Diana, but I try to make sure at least for Christmas, I send out Christmas cards to see if they get returned.
So where is she located now? Is she in New York?
Yeah, she, excuse me. She still lives in Brooklyn, New York, but she has 2 kids, and one of her daughter, I think, lives in Paris, France, or Switzerland, someplace abroad. So she's always abroad. It's been a while since I spoke to her.
She's
so.
a translator.
Is that what she does?
Nice.
Translator.
Wow.
Nice.
You know, so we have family that doing big things, girl, but we just don't keep up. I mean, Aunt Rita, is it Rita, her name? Papita's mother. Is it Rita? Is her name?
One was Amy, one was Rita, one was Pearl.
Yeah. No. Papita's mother, I think, is, oh my God, I'm losing
I
it.
don't know. All I know is that.
No, I think Papita's mother is Rita.
Okay.
Right. So he went into the ministry and he studied in Jamaica. So when he went into the ministry, he lived with us in Jamaica. So he went on to be a big, fabulous, I think it was in the Methodist church, pastor and everything. I think he's retired now. All right. So on grandma's side, I know a little bit more. Like I told you, she has a white father. And I don't know whether the mother Black or Indian, because some people say Indian, some people say Black.
She told me Indian.
She told me her mother was mixed, half and half.
I guess
Half
so.
Indian, half Black.
Yeah, because
So
when
we
you
got
go,
Indian, Black, and half. Well, it's all in
right.
there.
So then she has her siblings on her father's side that were lily white. I met one of her brothers, Norman, because he came to visit her from America. Tall white man with blue eyes. I'm like, Mama, you sure that's your brother? You know, he was so tall that going into the bathroom, he had to bend his head. I remember meeting him. I have met other family members where they're all high yellow. I guess that's where I got my complexion from. But Mama is now not, so those are like her half brothers and sisters. The brothers, she had a brother named Frank and she had one named Norman. And they were her favorite brothers. And that's where she named Uncle Frank, Frank Norman. She told me that. That was her 2 favorite brothers. She had a brother named Richard. All right. Then on her mother's side, she had these 2 sisters, Sally Wright and
Yeah, yeah.
I can't remember her name or right name. I think whatever, Altia or whatever. I think it started with an A, but they called her Yaya.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know where they, so I'll call her Yaya. Okay. Yaya was something else, child. Let me tell you. I guess she was the me of the family. Cuss like a sailor. She was something else. But Aunt Salderite, she was just the perfect sister. Of course, unfortunately, you know, life was rough. And Mama told me that when she met Papa, our grandfather, that I guess part of the dowry was, I'm working to take care of my sister. So if you want me to stop working, you're going to have to pick up that load. And he did. All right. But me as a child, when I see Aunt Salda right and I see Papa, I say, you sure them two is that brother and sister more than you? And that's a one. But that's the way it was. So Aunt Salda Wright, who is Mama's half sister by her mother's side, I guess met and fell in love with Grandma's brother on her father's side. So that's half sister and half brother got together and did their thing. Hey, we ain't judging nobody. You know how it is. All a love connection job. And had Aunt Gwen. Now, Aunt Gwen being Aunt Sally's Rice's first child, so Mama being her aunt, of course she wanted to steal the woman's baby. So Aunt said, no, you can't steal her, but you will always have access to her and everything. And I don't know, I guess growing up, Aunt Gwen, who most of us know, she had a love for her auntie that was something else. Y'all probably don't know the Aunt Gwen that I know, but Aunt Gwen in her day, honey, you don't say nothing about her cousins, you know, Frank and Noel, Frank, Tony, Bonnie, Bertie, especially Uncle Bertie. She had a love for him that she gone to our grave with secrets that none of us will ever know about, you know, because they were very close. So she had two kids, Blossom and Carl, which they're older than me. So I wasn't alone. I had them, and Aunt Gwen is not leaving her auntie. She either lived down the street, Duke Street, or back at what was her name? Wagonet Crescent. So I always had Blossom and Carl also in my life until today. They, you know, I can pick up the phone and call Blossom anytime. Carl, I don't have to talk to that much because he's a guy, but you know, House of Girls, we stick together. So that is that for that.
Now you said Yaya and Saladin, those they're grandma's sisters, but they're
Sisters on our mother's side.
on her mother's side, and they're both dark skinned.
Yeah, because her mother was dark.
Her mother was
So
dark.
Mama was the half white that I used
Yeah.
to call her.
I thought it was funny when you said you don't know where Yaya got her name from, but now here is four generations later after that, and when Khalil was born, he could not say his sister's name, who is Khadijah, and from out of nowhere he just started calling her Yaya.
Can you imagine?
It was
Can you
like,
imagine?
where did you get Yaya from? Who
I
comes up
remember
with
that.
Yaya out of Khadijah?
But do you, I don't know if you remember, Misha, but when we came to America, you know, Antoinette was very shy and held on to my skirt there.
Yes,
And who was the first person that she gravitated towards?
Wally.
And what did she call him?
What did she call him? Was it something like that? Yaya?
Ali. And
Ali.
he
Oh,
adopted the name
the
Ali.
name Ali.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I-
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
For Junior, because everybody was saying that's Junior, and yes,
Yeah.
and then she would be like,
She
Ali.
couldn't say the name, and she said, and we're like, where'd she get Ali
Where'd
out
she
of
get-
that?
And it's so crazy.
I named him Ali.
Well,
he's
that was
thought-
your name for him. So when he became a Muslim and took the name and he took Ali, we were like,
Never
Right?
heard that
Of
story.
It's like, that's the name? We didn't even know that was the name.
Right.
You know, so it's so crazy when you listen to
Totally.
the little ones that when they're first young, what they see or hear, sometimes it's a spiritual thing too, and you don't even know,
Yeah.
you know, the connection.
Because when I was a child, I couldn't say Uncle Frank. So I called him Wawan.
Wawa.
Yeah, and I know where that came from. Well, everybody know I have a speech problem. You know,
Yeah,
Well,
it-
that's just amazing.
it's amazing. It definitely is.
is.
You know, we're going to take an interjection. We're going to take a little coffee break, and then we're going to come right back and continue with the story some more, and go even deeper into finding out about grandma's father's side, I guess, because that was her mother's side with the two sisters, and then her father's side. And we've gotten to the point where grandpa, we know, had one other brother, which is the Panamanian side. And we still have relatives in Panama then, right?
Yes,
Okay, wonderful. That's gonna be a cruise or a trip.
for
Panama
sure.
side
For
and
sure.
New York. So we're gonna take a little break and come right back and continue the journey with our matriarch, Angela James, and the story of the Lambert Watkins, really the Lambert family, but we continue to say Lambert Watkins. Join us again. With 5 minutes.